القرآن حل ليالنا بالقيام أهلا أهلا بالصيام يا رمضان يا رمضان شهر الرحمة والغفران مرحب مرحب يا رمضان أهلا أهلا بالصيام. You told me you were here for 30 days to shower us with mercy just like rain.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu, and welcome to our next session. We have Dr. Maryam Saeed, all the way from Saudi Arabia, mashallah, ready to talk to you all about pregnancy and children and breastfeeding in Ramadan and mashallah, so many things. Then this conversation is going to be absolutely amazing. So I hope that you've got your cup of tea. Oh no, you haven't. Are you fasting? No, you're not fasting yet. You won't have your cup of tea yet, but maybe you can have your cup of tea, inshallah, and get ready to watch this. So Sister Maryam is a GP. She is an AMANI and CAPPA certified childbirth educator, and she helps mothers understand their pregnant selves and aim for a healthy pregnancy and empowered births through the Blessed Start course by Amani Birth. I will be sharing her links later on, so you can follow her on Instagram, and you can book sessions with her through Amani Birth for educating about childbirth, inshallah. We will be talking about embracing pregnancy and breastfeeding as worship. So first of all, welcome Dr. Maryam to our channel. How are you doing today?
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullah. I'm doing fine, alhamdulillah, Sarah. Jazakallah khair for having me on.
No, it's absolutely our pleasure, mashallah. So one of the main questions that I think mums really want to know about Ramadan is how to be spiritual if you're just like newly postpartum, or if you have like a little baby and you want to still stay spiritual, but it's kind of hard with little ones. What's your advice for them?
I would firstly try to tell these, especially these mothers, new mothers or postpartum mothers, that this is our mindset of limiting our spiritual activities or our ibadah to only a few things, which is prayer, maybe fasting, maybe going for tarawih to the mosque. And this is our limiting belief. So it's our fault in our brains that we are thinking this way. But what you're doing is a huge act of ibadah. You, as being a mom to this small baby in your arm, just holding the baby, just cradling your baby when he's crying, breastfeeding your baby, you are providing nourishment for the baby. When we have uh, better intention that what we are doing is actually for the sake of Allah, and this was one of the obligations given to you, everything that you do will turn into ibadah. So I feel we need to reset our intention, and I think this is what this Ramadan retreat is about. So this would be a part of the reset, that we have to renew our intention before everything we do. Instead of feeling left out, we can instead include our daily things within the ibadah. Like instead of thinking, I can't pray, or I can't for tarawih, or I can't, like for example, the postpartum moms, they won't be able to even fast or pray at all. So instead of saying, I can't do this and this and this ibadah, you can start thinking like, I'm looking after my baby. Alhamdulillah, that's a huge ibadah that I'm doing. And Allah has given me this opportunity to be this amazing mom. So accept that that is actually an ibadah, because sometimes I feel we as moms, we say this to each other. I mean, I'm saying it myself, like I say this to myself, but internally I still have not accepted that. I don't know if you agree with this, because I feel we say it to each other, but we don't accept it. I personally am saying it for myself. Like I say this, okay, I'm going to look after my child, but I don't accept that as a brother still. So I have to work hard on myself also, and my intentions, that this is something, this is an ibadah. It is a form of worship. Only if I change my intentions. So do you have like anything you can add, Sarah?
Yes, absolutely. And I actually was nodding when you said,
Mm.
most mums don't believe this because I think that again, especially as that we're born as Muslims, we are brought up with this belief that the five pillars of Islam and Ramadan is so important, fasting so important, that are we, like before marriage, I don't think that I would ever miss Taraweeh or prayer or you'd be really into it, obviously. And then when you get married and you just kind of think like, whoa, like everything's gone to pot, like I can't start this
Yeah.
again. What's going on?
Yeah.
And especially for myself, I don't know about you, Miriam, but I had three babies who
Mm.
all happened to be born just before Ramadan. Um, like subhanallah, not obviously not planned. But in that way, I think I had to embrace exactly what you're saying and realize. And I remember listening to a talk once where the speaker was actually saying like it's the he was saying that the balance is skewed towards mothers so much that it's almost unfair to the dads because we can get so much reward for just
Mm.
picking up your baby at night, breastfeeding your
Yeah.
baby, looking after your baby, and doing that. My mother-in-law, Allah bless her soul, used to say, there's nothing like a mom. You know,
Mm.
like
Yeah.
she says it obviously in our language, but she's like, there's nothing in this world compares to a mom. So she'd
Mm.
be saying to me, has my son ate? Has my son, is he wearing his coat? It's cold outside. And I'll be like laughing at her, like, come on, man. He's an old man now. Like, you can't be still worried. And she's like, it's the mother. It's the thing about the mother. And
Yeah.
subhanAllah. So yeah, absolutely. I resonate with everything
Mm.
that you've said there. Absolutely. This is the thing that we can actually do ibadah through our daily chores and our
Yeah.
daily routines. And I think throughout this conference, we've been saying similar things. So I'm
Yeah.
glad that you also agree with that, inshallah. Yeah. Is there
I was
any?
just reminded about the hadith. There's a hadith. This is a very general hadith, but if you can, we can apply it to every aspect. Where the hadith, the part of the hadith is "Innamal a'malu bin-niyyat," which means actions are dependent on intentions. So
Yes.
this is for anything in general. So just imagine if you can apply it to something which in itself is anyway like a pregnancy and breastfeeding is something obligated. Like it's not like you're vacuuming your house. Even that vacuum can become ibadah if you have changed your niyyah. But pregnancy, breastfeeding, giving birth itself is already a high state. It has a high status. So if you just change your intention and have true intentions that you are doing this for the sake of Allah, then things can change, inshallah.
Absolutely, mashallah. Is there any prayers like zikrs maybe or some kind of prayers that you recommend for mums that can't pray? Is there anything that comes to
There's
mind?
nothing
Putting
specific,
you on
like
the
there's
spot
nothing
now.
specific. There's nothing specific that I can say, like there, in the sense that something from the Sunnah, from the Hadith, that specifically a mom should say. But in general, we have so many different du'as and askar that you can say. Something as simple as Subhanallah, Alhamdulillah. Like try to instead of just saying it out of just doing it fast, you can. I like to relate things to actions. For example, if you're a new mom and you lift your baby up, so every time you look at your baby, just say Alhamdulillah, and you're actually meaning it because you're
Yeah.
looking at the baby and saying Alhamdulillah. So have that intention. When you're breastfeeding, think of how amazing this whole thing is, that your body is producing this milk and your baby is actually drinking from it. Isn't that a miracle? That's a miracle. Just looking at it, you can just say Subhanallah and you intend to say that. So this is like live dhikr, like you're doing it out of pure intention. So things like that are also helpful. For example, if a postpartum mom has some aches and pains when she's getting up or when she's trying to get something, so you can just go like astaghfirullah, because when you do istighfar, things become easier. So that is again another intentional dhikr that you can do. Besides that, there are so many du'as, like so many prayers. There's nothing specific, I think, for pregnancy or birth, but any dua that you can do. Otherwise, you can do when you're in postpartum period also, while breastfeeding, pregnancy. There's nothing specific as such, but I would recommend moms and pregnant moms to have a kind of a routine, because not because of anything, just because it becomes easier for them to remember. Like
Yeah.
if they wake up, then you have a list of perhaps a few, 2 or 3 du'as that you have somewhere written, especially if you don't know them by heart. Then you can just have a look at that and recite them. And the afternoon when you're having a nap, just before you sleep, have something beside your bed so you can just recite those du'as before you go to bed. So these things would help, but there's nothing specific as such.
That's beautiful, mashallah. Yeah. I'm glad you said about the trigger because, one of the things in creating habits
Mm-hmm.
for moms and for everyone else as well, but creating habits, trying to kind of reduce the resistance to that, to doing that act, and reminding yourself. So by having, what I used to rely on, and I still do, to be honest, rely on alarms on my phone. But like we can have certain places, like you said, by the bed, maybe
Yeah.
downstairs in the kitchen, on the fridge.
Yeah.
You could put little reminders in different places where you know that you're going to see it and it's going to remind you to do
Mm-hmm.
that prayer or make that dua. So yeah, absolutely. I love that. And obviously we have got the journals that we have given out so many years, mashallah. You can see in the description box below, you'll be able to download all of the different journals,
Mm-hmm.
maybe things that you haven't had time to reflect on before, because you were doing like, physical ibadah.
Yeah.
Maybe now you could do a bit more of that spiritual side of it.
Yeah.
So that's also a possibility, isn't it? Inshallah. Um, so yeah, thank you for that. What about what do you think about things like recommending the mums to fast? What if they were fasting? What would you recommend that they do fast, they don't fast? Or have you got any tips for like eating and things like that?
This is a very common question that most, especially from now, like it's February starting, you have 1 month. So all the moms who are about to give birth, they're worried that they might just give birth now and they'll have to spend the whole time postpartum. Or they didn't give birth, they'll be like, okay, my Ramadan is going to go in labor. So this is something everyone just keeps thinking about. Uh, okay, so from the uh, like the jurisdiction part of it, like the fiqh part of it, pregnant, from what I know and the knowledge I have from big shuyukh from Islam, like Sheikh Ibn Uthaymeen and Sheikh Ibn Baz and the classical scholars, what I know is pregnant and a breastfeeding mom may be considered as a sick person, but not necessarily. Um, this is like, for example, it's not like a green card. What I know is it's not like a green card automatically that you're pregnant, I'm not going to fast. It doesn't work like that. But you shouldn't go to the other extreme of I don't care what's going to happen, I'm going to fast. So it's not like this or that. It's in the middle. Like you are just another normal person who is, especially for a pregnant and breastfeeding mom, who is going to fast unless you can. That's how it works. Like I'm going to fast normally unless I cannot do it, unless my health is not with me, my baby's health is not well, I can't produce enough milk, or it's making me very exhausted that I can't do anything else, then you are obviously allowed to not fast. So this is what I know from the fiqh point of view. When you talk about nutrition, so obviously a pregnant and a breastfeeding mom, she needs around 300 to 500 calories more per day.
Mm.
Now, if you put that into perspective, like 500 calories would probably be um, something like 5 to 7 apples, like if you want all apples, or it can be 3 to 4 bananas. But obviously, we're not going to have all that together. But this is just to give an idea. Or it can be like 2 chapatis with some sort of curry, if that's what. So it is not really a lot. I mean, when you think of it, it is not a lot. What usually pregnant and breastfeeding moms face out of the exhaustion they face from fasting is because of dehydration, and it's not mostly because of nutrition. Because I think we kind of overeat in Ramadan. Whatever happens, like we kind of tend to overeat. So it's really not about nutrition. It's more about hydration. That's what makes them feel exhausted. So I would highly recommend that from this get-go, like you still have like a few weeks now before Ramadan starts. So from the start itself, they have a plan for what they're going to have for suhoor and iftar. So one thing, it should throughout the night you should have like lots and lots of water. Basic, like lots of water, hydration through water itself. Like I know many people go for smoothies and flavored water and all that. That is fine, but that can be an addition to water, because sometimes we go like, okay, let's have some smoothie and this and that, and then the hydration itself is not even complete. So focus on just pure water. Try to have at least 2.5 to 3 liters. I know it sounds a lot, but space it out, and try to have that during between suhoor and I mean, sorry, iftar and suhoor. So try to have all that between that, along with the other stuff, like along with your smoothies and watermelons and all that's filled with hydration. That's good, but pure water, just focus on that. That will be like the first thing. Meals itself, like nutrition value, I would say your iftar should start obviously with your dates and water. Include, and this is especially for breastfeeding moms, pregnancy also, but especially for breastfeeding. Include lots of oats in your meal, like iftar and suhoor, both the time. But you can just have simply an oats porridge, or you can have the soups they make with oats. Um, for suhoor, there's something called overnight oats. I'm sure you all know about it. Like you just soak oats at night and keep, and in the morning you can have that. That is really, really helpful for your milk production. That's another thing. Besides that, pregnant moms try to have lots and lots of proteins. So, for example, for iftar, instead of having a lot of fried samosas and stuff, I would just suggest that samosas are filled with chicken or with meat or with vegetables or whatever you're making it with. Instead of having, I like to look at it as, instead of having like 6 fried samosas, why don't you just have those 6 samosas filling with like one one or chapati or rice or whatever. So you just limit that, the fried part, because it is, when you think of it, it is a good thing. Inside it, you have lots of proteins and stuff mixed, but you're just messing it up with other stuff. And sometimes you're like, when you limit yourself too much, you crave it more. So you don't want to limit yourself too much, but you need to remember the reason why you're limiting is because if, for example, you're going to have like only the fried and only that, you're going to fill your stomach with not so nutritious food. And that is what you're trying to avoid. So keep that in mind when you have it. I have like for pregnant moms, again, have small meals. Don't have like a bulk at all together at iftar, and then another huge meal at suhoor. That's going to be really bad for your, especially pregnant moms. You'll have difficulty in sleeping. You'll have gastric issues. You might have like heartburn and forget the whole tiredness with the fasting. You will have to deal with all this also. So space out your meals. Your suhoor does not, yes, you need to have good nutrition, but it doesn't have to come all from suhoor itself. Like don't just, fill your stomach just before Fajr prayer. I think those are like some general tips. If you have anything you want to add or ask, Sarah?
Yeah, I think that they're pretty good. Obviously, we've heard quite a few of these before as well, but obviously for the new moms, maybe this is brand new information. So I'm glad that you talked about it. The overnight oats, I never got used to. I remember one of my friends at one of the schools I was at, she used to have it religiously and kept recommending me to do it as well, but I just could never get behind it. So what I did was I used to have Otibix. I don't know if you
Yeah,
have
yeah, I know
that.
that. Yeah, Weetabix. We have Weetabix. I think it's similar.
Yeah, yeah, but it's Weetabix but made with oats. But I don't
Yeah.
know if they sell it anymore, but I used to do that. And then the protein-based smoothie. We
Mm.
can even add protein powders, chia seeds, and things
Mm.
like that to just what I think me and my sister, I know her definite, and a few more friends realized was that at Sahur time, like you said, if you eat something really heavy, you just feel uncomfortable all day.
Yeah,
So we got into the habit of doing smoothies. And then the smoothies just it's much easier to have it anyway because it's just a drink.
yeah,
But it's really nutritious. It's got, you fill it up with all these different nutrients, and it's kind of easier to drink a smoothie than it is to have like a bowl of strawberries or, berries, that kind of thing, right?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
And yeah, I mean, whatever you have, if you just sprinkle some like nuts on top or some fruit on top of whatever you're eating,
yeah.
obviously you're just increasing that nutritional value. So yeah, I agree with what you're saying, sis.
Yeah. Alhamdulillah. I
Good.
I also like could share like an idea or an example of a day. Like for example, if you have one day, like what in general you could have, especially for breastfeeding moms, because I am not sure, but you can correct me. Like in my experience, I found many moms who are pregnant find it easier to fast than breastfeeding moms. Like
Yeah.
that's my personal thing. Like pregnancy, they still deal with it. They could still deal with the baby inside, but once the baby is outside and breastfeeding, it's much harder actually to fast.
Yeah.
So I have like a short, like an example. If a breastfeeding mom is watching this, I can just give a quick example, just an idea. For example, for suhoor, like in the morning, you can have, like we said, like an oats, overnight oats or something. But like Sarah, you mentioned, like add in nuts, add in, like you said, chia seeds. So you can just add three tablespoons of oats with either milk, or some people just like it like in yogurt, or I don't know if you know, like the yogurt itself. Okay, yogurt or milk with chia seeds, nuts, and there's something called the fenugreek seeds. That's really good for breastfeeding moms. So you just
Yeah.
add, and you just need to add like half a teaspoon of that, not too much. And dates, just add this. So that's like an example. Fenugreek itself will increase inshallah, it will increase breast milk, and it's also rich in iron. So that's a positive. So this is like a small bowl because you're just adding like three tablespoons. Along with that, you can have like probably two eggs with just some bread or something. So that's another option. Some people like to make smoothies, like you mentioned. So in smoothies, bananas, berries, flax seeds, even nut butters. I'm not sure if you tried it ever.
Yeah.
Like almond butter or
Yeah.
any other nut butter. Just add it in the
Peanut
smoothie.
butter. Peanut butter.
Yeah,
Just
yeah.
normal one. Nutella. Uh,
Oh, not Nutella. No, no, not Nutella. That would just ruin the
that
whole
was a
thing.
joke. Sorry, guys. I can't
Yeah.
resist sometimes.
Then you have like chia seeds that we already said. The chia seeds alone, like they alone are they're actually very good source of omega-3. So even the pregnant moms they can have it. It's very good, and it also helps in constipation. So mothers who are having any problem with this, they can just soak some chia seeds. Again, you don't need to cook or anything. Just soak them overnight with milk and honey, some fruit if you want to add, and that can be. So these are just the options for suhoor. Then comes like the iftar time. Uh, Start with dates and water. Some people like to start with milk. It's all up to you because sometimes milk can just fill you up real fast. So you just leave that till the end. Then one important thing that I feel like whoever is listening to this and you're pregnant or breastfeeding, start doing this from now because sometimes you might not get the chance to do it in Ramadan, is prepare lots and lots of broth, like bone broth, chicken broth, mutton broth, whatever sort of broth you have. Just prepare that from now if you cannot do in Ramadan, and you just add that to, like while making iftar, just add it. It's easier that way. Just add one whole bowl of broth to the oats soup you're making, or any other sort of soup. So include broth. I would say include this every day. Like in any way, I don't know how you were going to have it, either with curries or with soups or whatever way you want, but have bone broth almost daily. Then you have salads. Like I feel people ignore salads in Ramadan. It's a big good part of it. Carrots, cucumbers, anything. Just have like a whole bowl of salad. So that's another option. For lactation, like for breastfeeding, in between suhoor and iftar, keep having nuts, lots of nuts. You can make cookies and keep, like I think you mentioned the cookies, right? You can have cookies made with oats and flax seeds. That is also good. And obviously, like I mentioned, water, like water. That's one of the most important things um, for you to do, especially as a breastfeeding mom. So I think this is just a few ideas to give you.
Brilliant ideas. And obviously, if you do find it hard to fast, like there's no guilt, there's no
Yeah,
shame, there's, if you're finding it difficult, if it's hard for you to keep up with it, you have got the excuse
yeah,
that, you're pregnant or breastfeeding. And, some mums, I think they do like one day
yeah,
fasting and one day not. That's also another way.
yeah.
Um, I think,
I did that. Yeah, I did that. I was like one day fasting and one day off because that was again in breastfeeding, not in pregnancy. Pregnancy was really smooth for fasting. But yeah, breastfeeding, I was like I noticed that I fasted 3 days, and even though I did all that I could, still it was kind of difficult. So I did one day on and off, and that was much better for myself and even for milk production and my baby. And I would like to take this like chance to tell the moms, don't feel guilty. Like you said, Sarah, don't feel guilty when you're not fasting.
yeah,
And this is something within, like, I feel the community around us have two extremes. Either they're like, don't fast at all if you're breastfeeding or pregnant.
yeah,
Like, why are you even fasting? Or they are like, how could you leave? Didn't you try this, this, and this, and this, and still you are not fasting? So I feel they're like two extremes. Like, try to have the middle path. This is something that is given like a chance from Allah to not fast if you are feeling it hard, then you could take that chance. You should take that chance. I remember we were traveling once. It was Ramadan. I wasn't pregnant or breastfeeding, but we were traveling, and we started the fast in the morning. And I started like I was fasting, but uh, while on the way, I was like, okay, this is gonna get really difficult because I had to look after two kids, and I'm like, why not just not fast? And I broke my fast. I'm like, we're traveling, we're allowed, and everyone else around me was fasting. My whole, like, it was a huge everyone, like my husband and my husband's family, and so many people had gone. At that time, no one had told me anything. They obviously we were a huge group, but later on, there were a few people, ladies, who approached. They're like, why did you, like, why you started fasting? Couldn't you like just continue? And I'm like, what is wrong, like what is wrong in when Allah has given you this thing, why? And this question came up more than once in different ways from the same person, because basically trying to guilt trip me, like what you did was extremely wrong. We could fast, how couldn't you? But they just couldn't say it in that words. And I'm like, why would anyone do that when Allah has given you the option of not fasting and you're not doing something wrong? So
yeah.
whoever is finding it difficult, it's all right. It's all right. It's not, it's something Allah has given you. So why would people, why are you listening to people who are limiting your own body's cries? Like your body is crying for you to take a break. So why are you limiting yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it's nice to have that community feel around you and people
Mm.
that care about you and things like that. But at the end of the day, you have to make the decision yourself
Yeah.
because you're the one who is going to suffer whether you fast or you don't fast. Whichever way, you're the one who's going to go through that, whatever it is. Yeah. So obviously, you make that decision for yourself.
Mhm.
Like we said, for us, I mean, I think. I don't know because I never was pregnant in Ramadan.
Yeah.
At least I don't think I was. I can't remember. Anyway, my point is that in terms of being pregnant and breastfeeding, whatever you do is your personal choice.
Yeah.
Obviously, we're all here to recommend, yeah, you can do it if you do this, you can't do it. But there might
Mhm.
be people that are like, you know what, I can do it. And then, after a few days, you can't. And don't worry about other people. Just
Yeah.
think about yourself. That's it. Because
Yeah.
that you're the one who's going to suffer. So it's better if
Mm.
you do it your way rather than feeling resentful of all the people around you, you know?
Yeah. I
Um,
was even told, like, I was asked, did you have like headache that you broke your fast? Or did you feel dizzy? Or did you like pass out? And I'm like, do I need to go through all that? I was traveling and probably I was thinking I might, whatever is my reason, but those were ridiculous questions I was asked.
yeah, exactly. And again, it's a very personal decision. I don't think that we should have to answer. Like, I would literally be like, are you my mom? No, you're not. So be quiet.
Yeah.
Okay, so one of the things that you mentioned was you're going to talk about taking advantage of the hormones. I'm interested in knowing about that.
Yeah, okay. So in short, I would say like pregnancy and breastfeeding, both these times, there is one hormone which is like the main hormone, which is oxytocin. It's also called the hormone of love, and it's the hormone responsible for your labor also. And the same hormone is responsible for milk production, milk secretion, and all that. So I like to connect this with like your worship in the sense that spiritual well-being or spiritual worship, your connection to Allah, your way of talking to Allah, your prayers, your du'as, all that come from a side of a human being which is love and connection. So I feel like if you can actually think about it this way, like you have anyways you have lots and lots of oxytocin in it, so it's an amazing time for you to actually connect to Allah, to talk to him, to whether or not you're praying. I'm pretty sure you're not praying. That means you're like postpartum, you have a newborn. And newborn means you're up like during the nights. So that's an amazing time for you to, pray, to have like tahajjud. You don't need to pray. You're not praying, but you're making dua, and you're making dua out of this side of you, which is out of love. Like you have some sort of spiritual connection at a different level because of these hormones that is going up and down in your body. So I like to connect it, like take advantage of that, take some, like take give it credit, like give this part of you credit, that okay, it's because I'm going through this, I can connect much better. If you are going to think that way, it will be much easier for you to connect. Like I'm going to pray better, I'm going to ask dua, especially for duas for the kids. I think they come out from your heart when you have a newborn in your hand. You're going to make special du'as because you have that baby right in front of you. So make use of that. Make use of these hormones that are surging in your body, and speak with your heart. Like make du'as with your heart using this. This was my main idea behind this topic here.
That's really beautiful. And I like how all of the conversations that we're having are linking to each other
Yeah.
because Sister Rokshanara's talk about the power of a mother's dua.
Mm,
Actually, she shares the story, which I'm not going to spoil now. If you haven't seen that, you have to watch it, because I don't think I could even do the story justice. But
yeah.
subhanAllah, her sister made a powerful dua for her nephew when he was a newborn. So
Mm-hmm.
subhanAllah, and that dua has come to fruition like in such a beautiful way. So absolutely, like making dua for your children. Like even now, when you're talking, I've got like shivers going down my spine because I remember those days and those early days when it's just you and the baby at night time, and it's kind of like the best time to remember Allah,
Yeah, yeah.
thank Him for all the blessings, Alhamdulillah, that we have. SubhanAllah, we did have a few questions within the WhatsApp group, Sister
Yeah.
Miriam.
Yeah, sure.
But I know that we spoke just before, and you said that, they might have a bit of a longer answer. But so one of the mums asked about breastfeeding and a routine. I think we've kind of shared
Yeah.
that quite a
Yeah.
lot during the conversation. And the other mum was asking about how to build her body strength,
Mm-hmm.
because she had two surgeries within the last 6 weeks. And then she also asked how to relactate because she stayed in the hospital. So would you like to just say a few words around those two things, please?
Yeah, about building your strength, I feel one of the main things is nutrition, and we ignore that a lot. We all of us know that nutrition is important, but we ignore it. Like we don't take it as serious as it should be taken. So I would say like dedicate one day. Start with only one day. one day of you having completely healthy, nutritious food. You know it. Like I feel, especially around nutrition, many of the moms and many of the sisters who are listening, we all know what is nutritious food by now, I think. Like we know a lot of things that we're supposed to have and things we're not supposed to have, but we just don't do it. Even the same goes with multivitamins and everything. We either we forget or we think they're not so potent because we took for a few days and then we're like, okay, nothing's happening. So I would say like dedicate one day, just one day of you uh starting off and finishing off completely nutritious, and make a record of it. I do this with the mothers who take my course for pregnancy and pregnancy, and the aim over there is to reach a goal of proteins. And I tell them just start with a day, just try to reach one day, and they come back saying we couldn't reach it. Like we couldn't reach it with our normal diet, and we thought that we were eating quite healthy. So the same goes here. Like you write down, first of all, like one day, just write down, just write, literally only write down what you're having the whole day without changing anything. So for this sister especially who has asked the question, you wake up in the morning, you normal, don't change anything. You normally have like chai or tea with egg and whatever. Just write it down. Write down till you go back to bed at night. Then you just try to see like what exactly is healthy in that and what's not, and try to focus on the protein intake, because protein is very important for bodybuilding, especially when you have lost like you said, surgeries and stuff. So protein is very important to build yourself back up. So just try to calculate roughly how much you had. We need to aim to have around 70 grams. That's in pregnancy, but even otherwise, like somewhere at least fall between 50 grams per day. And that doesn't happen. I'm telling you also, Sarah, just try it out. It doesn't happen. We somehow never reach that, that amount. So just try it one day of normal diet, and the next day try to improve slowly and slowly, but write it down. That's one thing that's going to help you. And obviously, if you really, really have some deficiencies and on, then get checked. Like get yourself checked, get your iron checked, have your tests done. And if there's some sort of deficiency, then follow your doctor's advice and try to complete that before you just jump on, doing things yourself. So if there is serious deficiencies, then you need to get that checked. I think another question was relactation.
Yeah.
Relactation, it's a journey. It requires kind of a schedule. Like you will have to go through uh, taking some. It depends on every person, so I can't give an one answer. But there are some medications that you might need if you cannot go with natural things that increase breast milk. So there, that would require you to go to some breastfeeding counselor or consultant. And then you have like breastfeeding pumps. Pumps are very important. Electric pumps is what you would need. So these are just some, I can't go into detail because you would really need to have a personalized plan for this. So if you're serious about it, I would just advise you go to a breastfeeding consultant. So you would need like medications or natural things. Both these are what a breastfeeding consultant would give. And you'll need to have a rigid schedule for breastfeeding pump. Like you need to pump even if you're not getting anything. This is just a general few tips I'm giving, but yeah, you would need to see someone. I think that will be helpful.
Yeah, absolutely. Jazakallah khair for that, because it is it's concerning. I know when you want to feed your baby a certain way and you kind of feel like, this is what I wanted to do and unfortunately I couldn't do it. But remember that fed is best, and if you can't breastfeed, like it's not the end of the world as well, right, sister?
Mm. Yeah, exactly. Like again, it goes back to the same point of don't put yourself in a position of pleasing others. Like you go back to ask yourself why. Like why do you want to do this? Why do you want to die hard, only do one way when you know that it's harming you, or when you know that it's difficult? And then when you ask yourself why and why and why and go back to the last answer, it'll be mainly because people around you are either forcing or either telling one way or the other. So you try to be soft on yourself. Like don't force yourself to an extreme. You do your best. You do your best. Go to the breastfeeding consultant. Follow her advice for a whole month. But when you're following your advice, it's not gonna happen like overnight, and the next day you're going to go through a phase. So that phase when you're going through, don't put yourself into this guilty feelings yourself. You're doing your best. Just be happy about it. Like you're doing your best during that time.
Absolutely. I think that's a wonderful way to summarize your topic. MashaAllah. You're doing your best, sisters. Just carry on.
Yeah, alhamdulillah.
Absolutely. If we didn't mention it earlier, one of the other things that you can do, which I think I'm probably going to mention it in a few of the other talks as well, some that I have recorded, some that I haven't. But right now, today, we have the smart TVs. They're available for everyone. Most people have them in their houses anyway. If not, you've got your phones, you've got your laptops, devices, Alexa, whatever you have. And you can play Quran, you can do your memorization with it. You can do so many things that, there's nothing to worry about, inshallah,
Yeah,
yeah?
inshallah.
Everyone's doing their best, and whatever your best is, Allah knows that you tried, yeah?
Yeah. You're not
Um,
alone. You're not alone. There are so many millions of people like you out there. I have a message that I had written just today there to the mothers on my group that I teach. I just wrote just today if I would just read it. It's like a short few
what's it?
sentence. Yeah, so I've just written them this thing. To all the amazing moms and moms to be, you're doing something truly incredible. Whether you're growing a tiny life inside you or holding your baby in your arms, every moment, every challenge, and every little victory matters. The sleepless nights, the worries, the endless love, it's all seen and rewarded by Allah. You're not just taking care of a baby, you're nurturing a soul. So that, my sisters, is nothing but just simply beautiful. Alhamdulillah.
That's beautiful, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you so much, Coach Maryam, Dr. Maryam, Sister Maryam, mashallah.
Yeah, I'm so
Thank
happy that
you
I
so
could be a
much for
part of
coming.
this thing. And Jazakallah khair, Sarah and Iram and the whole tribe for making this possible this year.
Thank
I'm
you
sure
so much.
many women will benefit from it.
Inshallah, they will. And we've put your links down below in the description box. So if they would like to contact you because you teach your childbirth course, right?
Yeah, yeah, I teach them online childbirth education course, so they can just contact
Which
on
is fantastic.
Instagram.
Yeah, I mean, we spoke about this earlier before we started the interview, but I've been looking into that Amani birth as well, education. It's absolutely fantastic, mashallah, and a very holistic way of approaching birth, which is brilliant, mashallah.
Yeah,
And obviously Islamic too.
yeah,
So that's really good for all of you moms that are pregnant and thinking that you need some support in that. And inshallah, follow Coach Miriam, Dr. Miriam on Instagram as well. The links will be down below, so you can do that. And she shares some amazing advice. And inshallah, she'll be back soon, hopefully, for our next conference or maybe just a session, inshallah. Yes.
inshallah. Hopefully, yeah, inshallah. I would look forward to that, inshallah.
Brilliant, mashallah. Jazakallah khair. Thank you again. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.